How y'all doing? Yeah, that's good. Hope everybody's doing all right. Man, look at the people. Oh boy, it takes me back to thinking about something I read about here a while back. There was this group, and they probably funded by the government, done a study. They wanted to find out what people's greatest fear was. And so they surveyed some 3,000 people, and here's what they come up with. The people's greatest fear is public speaking. I said, that makes sense. But since I ain't got good sense, I figured I'd give it a whirl. So most of y'all probably never, half of y'all don't know my name. The other half know me simply as Debbie Williams' husband. Debbie the little greeter. There was a lady stopped me out here in the hall a few weeks ago. She said, "Are you the guy that's married to Debbie, the cute little greeter?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She gave me a look up and down, said, "You mighty lucky that little gal said yes to you." Yes, sir. So I grew up over in North Carolina. I always wanted to live in Tennessee. I started listening to the Vols in the late 60s on the radio. And I fell in love with them. And, the Lord let me make it up here in 2019. And I sure love it here. And when I was growing up over there, I grew up poor. I mean, y'all don't know poor. We were so poor. If it cost a quarter to go around the globe, we couldn't have got to the mailbox, man. That's true. And we were so poor that the tooth fairy left IOU under the pillow. That's right. And then we used to pour, one of my brothers was close to the same size. So we had to wear the same clothes to school. We shared a set of clothes. Well, here was the bad part. The kids at school would be real mean to you on the day. If it wasn't your day to wear the pants and underwear, you got made a lot of fun of. That's right. So, Mama got the idea one time. They come a time, boy, howdy, I reckon things got so bad. And, there wasn't nothing to eat in the house. That was very unusual. That's the first time that ever happened. Mama didn't know what she was going to do, so she come up with this. She said, "Boy, sit down around this table, and I'll take a cookbook, and I'll read recipes out of it, and y'all can pretend like you're getting something to eat, and you'll probably be all right." And that worked out pretty good. Except for my one brother that was hard of hearing. He nearly starved to death. That's right. So, went on my life to work, and I spent my entire career in the heavy civil construction industry, building wastewater, water treatment plants throughout the southeastern United States, all different places. But the best thing was, the common thread was SEC football everywhere I was down here. And I built a job in Columbus, Georgia back in the middle to late 90s. Old boy worked for me. He said he had a son. And his son was some more kind of football player, I reckon. He's 6'4", 242, run a 4.8 40, and he played linebacker or tight end, and everybody in this country wanted him to come to school. So he pondered over it like a young kid does. And anyway, his daddy came up to me one day and said, "My boy's decided where he wants to go to school." I said, "Yeah, where?" He said, "Georgia." I said, "Well, that's all right. He'll be home close to you." "Yeah." He said, "But I'm afraid he can't get in school up there at Georgia." I said, "How come? What did he get on his SATs?" He said, "Well, Clay, mostly drool." I said, "Well, I wouldn't worry about it too much." I said, "The way he plays football, they'll find a way to get him in school for sure." He said, "Yeah, I feel a little bit better." He said, "If Forrest Gump could get in over to the University of Alabama, surely my boy can get into Georgia." Indeed. And then there's Alabama. Now, if any of y'all from Alabama remember, I'm telling jokes. I got over there, and I can't prove this because I didn't even look for it on Google. I just assumed this all my life, that nobody from the state of Alabama has ever been invited to study abroad. Ain't happening. And there's things over there they just don't say. You'll never hear them say these things. They're like, I believe I'd rather have grapefruit and yogurt than biscuits and gravy. That ain't happening in Alabama. Another one's like, where'd I lay that Wall Street Journal? That's right. They don't say stuff like that. I mean, I was there for 4 years, and I one time never heard the word checkmate. I will always remember those folks fondly. I never even heard, this is another thing I didn't never hear. Me and my family are vegetarians. The whole group. And then finally, I never heard anybody say, I'll have Shakespeare for 1,000, Ken. So that was most of what Alabama was, but I had a job over in Coleman, Alabama, and that's quite a place if you ain't never been. I got my office trailers all set up and got the job sites set up and put an ad in the paper for some help. Old boy come out there, first one, come looking for a job. He bounced in that office trailer. He says, are you the man hiring? I said, yeah, I'm hiring. He said, I fill out this application here, boy, and I'll talk to you. So he sat down, and he filled that application out. And he handed it back over to me, and we went back to my office and sat down. And he didn't look too bad on paper till I flipped the paper over. And then right there where it says, closest relative, he put down 8 miles. Over here where it says, in emergency contact, he wrote down 911. And I'll tell you, the sad part of that whole deal was he's the smartest one I hired. I was out there with him one day, they was eating lunch, and I walked up to some of them. I said, I'd like to get to know them a little better. And about that time, here come a tractor-trailer truck flatbed loaded with sod, one end to the other. One old boy said, right there, right there. He said, when I hit that big lottery, that's what I'm going to do. I said, what's that, son? You buy your truck and drive it? He said, no, man. He said, I'm going to send my grass off somewhere to get it cut. Yeah, he was serious. And he had a buddy sitting there with him. He said, not me, I ain't fooling with nothing like that. He said, I'm going to buy the biggest, tallest, double wide anybody's ever seen. He said, it's going to be 100 foot long, 70 foot wide, and 2 full stories. I said, well, son, I ain't sure they even make something like that. He says, well, they ought to for people that's got money. Yeah, he was serious. It was a great place over there, a lot of good people. I went down to Louisiana after that, and them people down there, they're some real fine people. But I'll tell you what they're best at, cooking. And if it walks, crawls, swims, or flies, they can tell you how to fix it for supper tonight. That's right. You go down here to the zoo at Knoxville, you come up where there's an animal there, you know, there'll be a sign or a plaque there that's got what kind of animal that is, where it's from, what they like to eat, some of that kind of stuff as you go around the zoo. Well, you go down to the zoo in New Orleans, Louisiana, you come around, they got a big sign like that too. But on that sign, it has a recipe and a list of suggested side dishes. That's right, they're good people. And I really loved it down there, but I got old and I had to give it up and come to retire. And I don't like getting old. I don't know, some of y'all might be getting old too. I don't know, can't see you. That's good. I don't like it. It ain't no fun. Things start to hurting, things start to happening. And a man told me when I was a young man, he said, you'll know you're old when these 3 things happen to you. You lose your memory. I can't remember the other 2. That's right. And getting old, some guy told me not long ago, he said, I'm about 70 years old. He said, well, you know, 70 is the new 50. I said, I don't know about that, but 8 o'clock's the new midnight at my house. You got that right. And that's you know, just getting old. That's not fun. But here we are. And the only thing death can do to me is take me before Jesus, right? Just like Charlie Kirk said. That's right. And I'll leave y'all with this thought. The worst time to ever have a heart attack is during a game of charades.